So this is a legendary throwback video for you. This is in 2003. Bernie Sanders and Alan Greenspan went into it. Now, if you don't know about Alan Greenspan, let me sum him up for you real quick. You know, his entire ideology and his career was based on believing Ayn Rand, believing like a very strict, pure, libertarian economic interpretation. And he ran the Federal Reserve from 1987 to 2006. And so he really set fiscal policy, monetary policy for this country. And, you know, we know the results. It kind of culminated perfectly in 2007 and 2008 with the subprime mortgage crisis and the Great Recession. So this dude thought all these years, oh my God, I'm nailing it. Oh, my ideology is on point. In reality, he was creating a massive bubble which would burst and tank the global economy. So, Bernie Sanders knew this, and Bernie Sanders knew that the policies he advocates for are terrible. And so in 2003, he really grilled him in an amazing way.
Thank you. Mr. Sanders?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Mr. Greenspan, nice to see you again. Mr. Greenspan, I have long been concerned that you are way out of touch with the needs of the middle class and working families of our country, that you see your major function in your position as the need to represent the wealthy and large corporations. And I must tell you that your testimony today only confirms all of my suspicions. And I urge you, and I mean this seriously, because you're an honest person. I think you just don't know what's going on in the real world. And I would urge you, come with me to Vermont, meet real people. The country clubs and the cocktail parties are not real America. The millionaires and billionaires are the exception to the rule. You talk about an improving economy while we have lost 3 million private sector jobs in the last 2 years. Long-term unemployment has more than tripled. Unemployment is higher than it has been since 1994. We have a $4 trillion national debt. 1.4 million Americans have lost their health insurance. Millions of seniors can't afford prescription drugs. Middle-class families can't send their kids to college because they don't have the money to do that. Bankruptcy cases have increased by a record-breaking 23%. Business investment is at its lowest level in more than 50 years. CEOs make more than 500 times of what their workers make. The middle class is shrinking. We have the greatest gap between the rich and the poor of any industrialized nation, and this is an economy that is improving. I hate to see what would happen if our economy was sinking. Now, today, you may not have known this. I suspect that you don't, but you have insulted tens of millions of American workers. You have defended over the years, among other things, the abolition of the minimum wage, one of your policies, and giving huge tax breaks to billionaires. But today, you reached a new low, I think, by suggesting that manufacturing in America doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where the product is produced. We lost 2 million manufacturing jobs in the last 2 years alone, 10% of our workforce. Walmart has replaced General Motors as the major employer in America, paying people starvation wages rather than living wages, and all of that does not matter to you. Doesn't matter. If it's produced in China, where workers are making 30 cents an hour, or produced in Vermont, where workers can make 20 bucks an hour, it doesn't matter. You have told the American people that you support a trade policy which is selling them out, only working for the CEOs who can take out plants to China, Mexico, and India. You insulted Mr. Castle. Mr. Castle, a few moments ago, a good Republican, told you that we're seeing not only the decline of manufacturing jobs, but white-collar information technology jobs. Forrester Research says that over the next 15 years, 3.3 million U.S. service industry jobs and 136 billion in wages will move offshore to India, Russia, China, and the Philippines. Does any of this matter to you? Do you give one whit of concern to the middle class and working families of this country? That's my question.
Congressman, we have the highest standard of living in the world.
No, we do not. You go to Scandinavia and you will find that people have a much higher standard of living in terms of education, health care, and decent paying jobs. Wrong, Mr. Greenspan.
May I answer your question?
You sure may.
Thank you. For a major industrial country, we have created the most advanced technologies, the highest standard of living for a country of our size. Our economic growth is crucial to us. The incomes, the purchasing power of our employees, our workers, our people are by far more important than what it is we produce. I submit to you that, may I? And what I'm saying to you is, yes, I found a flaw. I don't know how significant or permanent it is, But I've been very distressed by that fact. But if I may I just finish an answer to the question previously?
You found a flaw in the reality.
Flaw in the model that I perceived is the critical functioning structure that defines how the world works, so to speak.
In other words, you found that your view of the world, your ideology was not right. It was not working.
Precisely. No.
So, in a weird way, you got to give him credit at the end there. There was a hearing 5 years later, and this is after the subprime mortgage crisis and the Great Recession. We were in it at that time. And apparently, Alan Greenspan is a dude who, he really drank the Kool-Aid, and he really believed the Ayn Rand, Milton Friedman, pure libertarian worldview. And he thought, no, less government the better. Regulation is bad by definition. Leave it all up to the free market. It'll work itself out. And it turned out that was a giant mistake. The people in Wall Street are not the smartest guys in the room. People on Wall Street are the greediest guys in the room. They had no problem over-leveraging. They had no problem playing hot potato with toxic assets for profit. And that's what happened. And so here you have Alan Greenspan admitting it like, oopsies! See, he thought from 1987 to 2006, like, I see economic growth, therefore, this must be a victory. Again, that's not the best indicator of how your average American is doing. Wages were totally stagnant from 1987 to 2006. Maybe that's a little bit more important than he was giving it credit for. And the way he got around that was saying, yeah, but the purchasing power of that money is better, so... Well, Bernie Sanders eviscerated him in that hearing in 2003. And then, what do you know? 5 years later, when it all collapses, he's basically like, yeah, I noticed a giant flaw in my ideology, and it turns out I was wrong about everything. And yeah, Bernie Sanders was correct about it all. Man, that felt good, didn't it? Watching him just rip into him. And Alan Greenspan had to sit there like a little boy and take it with that, bewildered deer in headlights look in his eyes like, okay, yep, you're destroying me. Is this going to end anytime soon? It feels kind of awkward. This feels very awkward. Oh, man. But he's right. I mean, part and parcel of what these guys push for, and Bernie laid it out beautifully there, they didn't even care about protecting U.S. manufacturing. They thought like, no, the trade deals, the free trade deals are wonderful and they're great, and the price of consumer goods goes down, so it's obviously a net benefit, but really it's a race to the bottom because you're taking all these good-paying jobs that exist in the U.S., and you're allowing the businesses with no penalty, and in fact, if anything, they're incentivized to do it, to ship it overseas to India and China and elsewhere. So you're ripping the manufacturing base out of this country, and you're taking away the livelihood from so many middle-class Americans, people who had previously could say they made it, and now it's like, nope, sorry, we're going to rip the rug out from underneath you, and you're screwed. And all because it fit neatly into his ideology to allow the companies to do that, he came up with all these BS rationalizations as to why it's a good thing, when obviously it was a terrible thing. So, Bernie Sanders absolutely destroyed him. He's a guy who's been correct about all these things for so long, and you don't come across that in Washington very often.